The unimaginable in Kenya just happened. HELB is officially broke. Not under pressure, not delayed. Broke. For the first time in its history, the Higher Education Loans Board cannot fund new loans, and the consequences are already unfolding. Over 100,000 university students are stranded, institutions are bleeding, and the September intake, it's hanging by a thread. Let's break it down.
And in this new financial year, we project that the deficit will be 36.1 billion, affecting 468,237 students.
Geoffrey Monari, HELB's CEO, didn't mince his words. In a recent statement, he confirmed.
And that's where you can see the students are not making as much noise because they got their upkeep money, but they didn't get the tuition money to the institution. Yes, that is where the challenge is. So the person suffering actually is the institution, the universities and the TVET colleges.
Last year, HELB needed 48 billion Kenyan shillings. It only received 26 billion. That gap left more than 100,000 students partially funded or not funded at all. Many students received some upkeep, but crucial tuition fees never made it to the universities and TVET. As a stopgap, HELB prioritized student survival over institutional sustainability, but that's now collapsing.
And in this new financial year, we project that the deficit will be 36.1 billion, affecting 468,237 students.
Universities and technical institutions are now in financial ICU. Some are operating on borrowed time and borrowed money. Monari said, lecturers are going unpaid. Campuses are scaling back services. Enrollment is declining. And for many young Kenyans, especially from low-income households, higher education is rapidly becoming a dream they can't afford. So why is HELB broke? It's a combination of systemic underfunding and poor recovery from past beneficiaries. The government budgeted only half of what HELB needed. And worse, thousands of Kenyans who took HELB loans have never paid back a shilling. The board is chasing shadows while students suffer.
During this period, we had a resource requirement of 26.5 billion that was supposed to directly go to universities and based on the number of students in these universities. However, we were only able to be allocated 16 billion. And so what that has meant is that 16.9 billion. We have had a deficit of about 9 billion. And so indicatively, we've had challenges in terms of support to universities because we need the money.
HELB estimates billions are owed by graduates who've long joined the workforce. Some are living large, buying cars, vacationing, even flaunting wealth on social media, while conveniently ignoring their HELB obligations. Now, the board is pushing for unprecedented access to KRA and NTSA databases to track these defaulters.
Propose to enact legislation to grant HELB statutory access to third-party data from relevant institutions such as Kenya Revenue Authority. This will enhance targeting of financial aid and enhance tracing and enforcement mechanisms.
This signals a serious escalation. The board is seeking legal frameworks to cross-reference personal data, hunt down defaulters, and force repayment. But enforcement alone won't save the board. HELB is now proposing two radical solutions. One, a 3% education levy, a mandatory deduction from VAT modeled after Ghana's 2.5% levy for higher education. The goal? Create a sustainable national fund independent of politics and annual budget fights. If approved, this would be the most significant structural reform to HELB's funding in decades.
Student education levy on employers to ring-fence 3% out of the existing percentage VAT charged for direct allocation to HELB.
Secondly, a voluntary parent savings scheme. This initiative would allow parents to save money with HELB, earning dividends and even borrowing against it. in the hopes of reducing dependence on government loans altogether.
These are savings fund like any other. Right. You can even go and borrow that money and do any other business, establish a school, do whatever you want.
But this is a long-term solution. The current crisis demands immediate action.
The HELB respectively appeals to the National Assembly to consider supplementary allocation to bridge the budget deficit for the financial year 2024-25 and the envisaged gap for 2025-26 in order to support the growing number of unfunded students to sustain the momentum of the funding model.
Without fresh emergency funding, September's intake could be the lowest in decades. Thousands may be locked out of higher education entirely.
In 1996, there has always been banding. It didn't start with this model. I know there is a push that maybe this banding started with this model. It did not. It's always been there. All we did is instead of having four bands, we made it 5. And we have reasons for that, and I'll explain. Number 2, the loan component, again, did not start with this model. I went to university in 1987 as a fresher. And I had a loan, just like you do. I paid my loan. My loan was $55,000. There was an interest of 2%. The statistics are there with the Higher Education Loans Board. I paid my loan facility with an interest, so I paid $69,000. In fact, I paid my loan when I got my first salaried job as a member of parliament. So the loan component is not a new thing. It's what has always been there. It's what makes the model sustainable.
The big question now is, will the government step in or let HELB collapse further? Monari, Meli, and the entire higher education sector are sounding the alarm. What is unclear is whether anyone in State House, Treasury, or Parliament is truly listening. Because if they are not, this isn't just HELB's crisis. It is Kenya's future on the line.
The HELB respectively appeals to the National Assembly to consider supplementary allocation to bridge the budget deficit for the financial year 2024-25 and the envisaged gap for 2025-26 in order to support the growing number of unfunded students to sustain the momentum of the funding model.
What do you think about this whole saga? Share your comments. Newsroom, Maisha TV, Pushabi Jr.